At this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council Audit Committee meeting for August the 11th, 2022 to order at 10 a.m. And the machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all members are present and Mr. Duke is here representing the Audit Department. And we can move on to first item.
New business. A, review of the port contract.
We're going to do the roll call. We did that. Said a pledge.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. But
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Next item, please.
Item number 2, new business. A, review of the port contracts and agreements internal audit.
This time, Mr. Duke, we're going to make sure that you're speaking to the mic.
Yes, sir. Okay, we have a final report on Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, the port, on August the 11th, 2022. If we scroll down to page 6, I believe. Okay, conclusions, preventive and detective internal controls. In my opinion, the port has good written preventive and detective internal control policies in place. In the auditor's opinion regarding the following observations 1 through 11, the auditor's recommendations could be added to the port's contracts and agreement files. COSO, control environment. Control environment is a set of standards, processes, and structures that provide the basis for carrying out internal control across an organization. Board of Directors and senior management establish the tone at the top regarding the importance of internal control, including expected standards of conduct. Good, effective control environment will help the port reach the goals and objectives. Top-level management's buy-in concerning the importance of internal controls will help the port in the following areas: efficiency and effectiveness of operations, safeguarding assets, integrity and accuracy of financial information, compliance with contracts, rules, and regulations. Observations. Overall background for the 11 contracts and agreements reviewed. During the review of these contracts and agreements, the auditor noted that some important documents should be included in each port contract file. J.D. Russell Consulting, LLC, current insurance certificates, approved invoices and timesheets, the legal review, legislation authorizing the contract and amendments, vendor competitive bid process, and selection scoring worksheet document. Signatures executing the contract and agreement should be dated. A deliverable checklist or similar record showing the port has received the deliverables that were paid for in accordance with the terms of the contract or agreement. And of course, a right to audit clause allowing Plaquemines Parish internal auditor access to records. Management response: the port agrees with the internal auditor's recommendations. Legal review was performed, but the process will now improve due to the port hiring an in-house attorney. The RFQ process was completed for this contract to create a competitive atmosphere. Technical issues prevented access to all records.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we had some issues with getting into, the e-file cabinet. And that took a while to get into that. Originally, what we had to do is put everything on a flash drive. And, apparently on her side of it, transferring her records from her hard drive to the e-file cabinet was an issue. Jerry's janitorial service, all of these pretty much the same sort of files that I needed to look at. The bid process, of course, we just need to make sure that when an auditor comes in to review the port, especially internal auditors that are not familiar with the records from a year-to-year basis, like the annual external auditors are, that, the files are complete, especially, for insurance certificates. We know for a fact that nobody's going to do business without, current insurance certificates. So those should be in the file. And, the bid process, in several instances, it appeared that they do have the bid process documented. I was able to review it. In other instances, I didn't have that documentation.
So let me ask you this. So these are the same items that are going to be listed in most of the contracts?
Yes, yeah, you can go through it. It looks like it's repetitive, but I always take it one contract at a time.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's all of her comments are pretty much in agreement. She's going to improve her legal review process, which, is a stamp on the contract with the date. And the person responsible for the contract is Mr. Sanders or whomever needs to date the contract so that we can clearly see that the legal review was taking place before the contract was executed. Things of that nature.
Mr. Duke, did Ms. Shimbrell say she was going to attend today?
No, she did not say, no.
And did she say, do they have just a simple form that they follow for these contracts to make sure all these,
They do have a checklist, yes.
they just didn't follow the checklist?
That's correct. So a lot of these issues, if you pay attention and just make sure these items, when you're building your file for each contract, every auditor every internal auditor that goes through this is going to always look for insurance certificates. It's very important. And you're going to look for the legal review. That's very important. You're going to look for the bid process. Very important. You're going to look for, signatures on the contract. All this is very important. You have to have it. And so that's trying to improve their process by telling them that they should have it. And of course, as you know, Mr. Roussel, the last time I spoke to the legislative auditors, they told me specifically to make sure that we have a deliverable checklist for every contract proving that the deliverables were received in a timely manner for the amount of money that was paid out for it.
So when they go through an external audit, do they not pick this up?
External auditors normally do not pay a lot of attention to internal controls. They are more concerned with the financial aspect and whether or not the financial statements are materially correct. The amounts on the financials are materially correct. So they do a cursory review as they're going through testing the amounts on the dollar amounts on the financial statements. If they come across an internal control issue, they will report it. And if they come across fraud, they're reported. But they're not obligated to discover fraud, and they're not obligated to delve into the internal control process that much. It costs them too much money to do that, too much time.
And it seems like this excuse for all 11 are the same thing. They
Yes.
agree, they blame it on the attorney,
Yes.
and
Well, last audit I did, I recommended.
it was the
Yes,
same
sir.
excuses back then.
Yes, sir. You remember. That's
Yes, I
right.
do. And, it's repetitive.
Yes, it is. Well, PPG, the audit I did on PPG had the same issues. I had reported that earlier as well. So, it's very, so anyway. So that's really it in a nutshell. I'm trying to improve their process. I'm hoping this time they'll do it. We'll follow up and see if they do, and we'll keep pounding until it gets done.
I believe we passed an ordinance setting a policy that the right to audit clause.
That was for PPG only, though, sir, I think. I don't think it included the port.
Okay.
Yeah. So I specifically mentioned that to Mr. Sanders during our meeting, that they need to have that in there. So if you want to scroll down, we'll take a quick look at the analysis that I did on each one of these contracts, which a lot of my findings are taken from the scope based upon the audit information provided by Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. The internal auditor noted the following during the review of the 11 agreements and contracts. Okay, J.D. Russell Consulting. Let's see, the legal review, of course. The auditor noted that there was a clear evidence in this contract of a legal review of the contract. A stamp was on the signature page of the contract. It stated approved as to legal contents.
Well, we had a lawyer for him, Ken Rathburn, right?
Yes, sir. And so that's all they have to do. They did it on this one. The auditor noted that the legal approval wasn't dated, though. That's correct, to indicate that the legal review was performed before the contract was executed. That's what I found there. Resolution number 2139 was adopted on Thursday, June 11th, 2020, authorizing the consulting agreement. It appears that this resolution was adopted after the effective date of the agreement on June 1st, 2020.
So they entered into a contract before they had authority to
That's
do it?
correct. That's happened, I think, on a few occasions with PPG as well, right? Inspection by the legislative auditor. Here is where they are, I said that I would recommend that they state the language under the inspection by legislative auditor section of the contract to include that the Plaquemines Parish internal auditor can have access and right to inspect all records as well. Okay, approved invoices, insurance coverage, executed signatures, bid process, deliverables. And apparently they entered into a second janitorial contract and for cleaning services. And this was bid out. The only issue I had with it is that they...
Before you move on, you say here the auditor did not find documented evidence of approved invoices and timesheets received from J.D. Consulting?
Right, that's correct. And so, in some instances they were able to put that on e-file, in other instances they were not. Okay.
So you based your audit on the documents that they put on e-file?
Yes, that's correct.
And they couldn't provide you any other documents that they maybe left off of e-file?
Well, I could have extended this audit for another month, but I felt like we wanted to go through it. I'm not sure if it made that much difference. In fact, I did mention it to Mr. Sanders, if y'all want to extend this for another month, you can try to put these on e-file, and I'll go through them again and rewrite the report, change it up.
But they just
They didn't
provide it.
They didn't say that they wanted to do that. I mean, had they told me, yes, Randy, I want to do that, then of course we wouldn't be at this meeting right now.
Well, they didn't provide document of the bid package. They didn't provide any of the checklist deliverables.
Right. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. All I know is what I see and what they provide for me. The second contract, they got 2 bids for this, but they didn't get the third bid. So best practice does say you need 3 bids. They say it's below $10,000, though, I think, but they still got 2 bids for it, $902 a month. I think that's a little, I don't know, I have to calculate it, but still in all, I try to be as thorough as I possibly can with this stuff. I don't want somebody coming back and saying we missed anything, so, especially anything of importance like legal review and deliverables, which is very, very important. KDC, that grant process, apparently they feel like they, don't have to get a bid on that because it's a governmental contract, but I really don't agree with that. I think everything should be competitively bid but maybe they don't feel that way. I don't want to speak out of turn. But the deliverables are very important on all of these, and timesheets. We have to have timesheets. We can't take anybody's word for it. I've been through this over the years. You can't take anybody's word for the hours that they worked. You have to have a signature that of the person who worked and an independent person reviewing it. So, deliverable checklist. We have to have the deliverable checklist. Professional services agreement. This is all pretty much the same thing. We have to make sure that the agreement has signatures. A lot of times, we just go through it, I guess, for some, I don't know. And the Ladder and Bloom contract, it clearly says you should have itemized detailed invoices and timesheets. So let's see here. I did see that the invoices were approved, clearly approved and reviewed. The timesheets were not. Legal review, bid process.
So they don't mind paying the bill, but they don't want to approve the timesheets that justify.
Yeah, well, what they need to do is tell the vendor, I don't want to just receive a blank timesheet with your hours on it. I want you all to sign off on this in case it goes to court for some reason. So that I can say, if this goes to court and I don't agree with this, for them, it's better for them because they can say, yeah, I reviewed this and the hours are accurate, But the deliverable, and also the maximum amount of the contract, the contract should always show the maximum amount of this contract. If it's so that we won't get confused, if it says, okay, we're going to do the contract for $250,000, let's make sure we have that not to exceed $250,000 in the contract. That's and that's the maximum amount. We're not going to go over that. And if we go over that, in my opinion, that contract should go back to the council for review and let you all decide whether you want to continue with the contract or not, And all these amendments, there's one contract in here where they do, they had the contract signed and everything, and then as soon as it's contract signed, they start having amendments to the contract. Start having amendments to the contract, amendment after amendment, which is increasing the cost of the contract. After we've all agreed that we were going to, this contract is for X amount of dollars, and then it seems like right after, and this is typical of contractors, right? They'll come and say, "Oh, wait a second, I found this. I have to amend the contract." I mean, that's not right. So, Intelligent Transportation LLC. I guess I'm getting perturbed a little bit. Anyway, let's scroll down here to, here's that contract here. That's interesting. It's called Infinity Engineering Consultants. And, for one thing, construction monitoring by the consultant consists of visual observation of the construction work. I guess that's okay, but I still don't think that's sufficient monitoring, in my opinion. And deliverables, consultant should submit periodic written reports. I didn't see those. Deliverables, approved invoices, a resolution.
What are we paying them to look at being built?
Yeah.
Building something?
Yeah, and it goes on and on after. It doesn't really have a maximum amount, I don't think, on this.
I believe this is the B3 project,
Yeah.
Infinity
In
Engineering.
terms of payment, yeah, they don't have a maximum amount on this contract either, it looks like. And
Something that we eventually approved, about a $700,000 change order.
yeah, it keeps like they had an amendment. Here are the amendments. You have an amendment to the original contract dated February 25th, 2019. Okay, the resolution, the auditor didn't find documented evidence of parish legislature approving February 25th. I'm sure we have one, but I couldn't find it, and, I asked everybody for it, no one had it. March 21st, 2019, another one. Resolution did not find the documented evidence of parish legislation approving it. December 15th, another amendment. Auditor didn't find document and a maximum amount. The contract and agreement should show the maximum amount allowed under the contract before. So I guess what I'm looking at here is, I'm just wondering, especially if this was bid out, how do we bid something out and get Infinity? They win the contract, but then all of a sudden the amount of their bid goes up.
Well, so you're saying when they're not coming to the board, they're just
Right.
approving the amendments without coming to the board?
Right. Well, I think that should be good, but I think we really should be cognizant of, okay, here's the way I look at it. If you have a contract, $700,000, and where I would be firm on $700,000, unless they can really show me, okay, I have an amendment, I have another amendment, I have another amendment. To me, that seems like it may not.
Mr. Duke, was this the only issue you found was with Infinity? Because we do know that because the
Yeah.
pandemic and the changes that the Corps has made, which
Right.
tended to be a problem.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think those were things that was unpredictable, but I
I
see your point.
understand. It's, I guess, okay. Yeah, well, the bid process, I found that the auditor found one proposal from Infinity Engineering Consultants,
Mr. Duke,
and I didn't find any other proposals.
it's my understanding, and I've advocated this in the past, about when we negotiate contracts with engineering firms,
Yes,
they tend to work on a state curve.
yes,
And when they do that, the more the project costs, then it's to their advantage to make more money.
yes,
And so I've always advocated that we give a fixed firm price
right.
from the engineering firm for a scope of work.
Yeah, yep,
And that way, we don't have this creep up.
that's what
Because I do think that this $700,000 that we kind of increased this contract was,
Yes, sir.
as Ms. Newberry stated, there was many reasons given to us,
Yeah,
but if you don't find the documentation to back it up,
right,
we rely on the administration and we approve things,
right.
but if there's no backup.
And there's
Now-
no deliverable checklist on this either. So have we received the deliverables for the first 700,000 before we went on to do an amendment? That's what I would ask, was that scope completed? Or if they're saying, okay, I can't complete this scope of the project for 700 because I have an amendment, so I have to increase the price.
Right. Well, today we have something on the agenda to authorize, we're introducing something today.
Yes,
To
sir.
authorize the administration to go out for bid for this project, the B3 project, for the construction. And the initial estimate was 6.5, now it's up to 7.5 or 6.
That's what I'm
But
talking about.
that difference is that item will be bid.
Yeah,
And so the contractors that respond, we will know the real price.
okay,
And that is where the change orders need to be monitored and make sure that if we get a bid for 7 million,
Yes.
that it doesn't go to 8 and 9.
Right.
And it's monitored in that respect. As far as this professional services stuff, we didn't have, I don't believe we approved the original contract for Infinity.
doesn't seem like it.
So we had no impact.
Doesn't seem like it. I couldn't find a lot of document on this, but what I was looking for here, let's go through this. No, there's nothing on that. Let's see. The monitoring, deliverables, approved invoices. I didn't even find approved invoices. And the resolution, they say a resolution was adopted on November 4th, 2021, approving and authorizing the contract. Okay, for Infinity. For the bidding and construction phase of the B3 relocation 5-year capital improvement project. Resolution number 18 3/22 authorized the exec to enter into this agreement with Infinity for services needed for moving the port ship service, the business facility, from Track B3 to Track H, owned by Plaquemine Spirit. The design phase is completed, and bidding and construction phase is essential for continuous and completion of the project. Okay, so Resolution 2021 was adopted on November 24th, which appears to be after the contract was executed on May 22, 2019. Okay, so they had some approval. The bid process, however, there was only one person bidding for this, and that was Infinity Engineering Consultants. There was no other bids. And that was authorized by Resolution number 21268 on November 4th, 2021. So there was some oversight over this. But it just seems to me that when we got to the amendments, there doesn't appear to be any legislative oversight that I could come up with. And I think I asked Ms. Toops too, and she couldn't find it either. So,
Okay.
Anyway, I guess that's just frustrating. So the rest of them are pretty much the same. Let's scroll down here to Sustainability Partners, CEA. Okay, so in my opinion, the CEA appears to be confusing and overly complicated, which can result in a lack of transparency. That's my opinion on this contract. And the risks, the more complicated a transaction agreement is, the higher the risk of an adverse event happening. The Attorney General in LA opinion, it appears that the Louisiana Attorney General has been asked to issue an opinion, certain financial operational aspects of the CEA, and also the legislative auditor is looking to the agreement as well. The results of these investigations should be resolved and documented in the file. And of course, the cooperative endeavor agreement, all of these, in my opinion, an attorney can argue this, and he'll have to if it ever goes to court, that we have to make sure that it's not gratuitous and that it meets the current AG test. And I didn't find documentation on that, whether it met the sniff test of that current AG test.
Mr. Duke, let me elaborate on that item where you say the Attorney General has been asked to issue.
Yes, sir.
On July the 28th, 2022, the Attorney General's office, Emily Andrews, forwarded us a letter to our attorney, Mr. Garrett. It says, our office received your request for an opinion on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Council, wherein the council seeks an opinion on whether a CEA between the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District and Sustainability Partners, LLC, is public debt, subject to the approval of the State Bond Commission. Louisiana Revised Statute 39:1410.60A provides that no parish or harbor terminal district shall have the authority to borrow money, incur debt, or to issue bonds or other evidences of debt, or to levy taxes, or to pledge uncollected taxes or revenues for the payment thereof, without the consent and approval of the State Bond Commission. The Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District executed the agreement on March the 24th, 2021, without obtaining approval from the State Bond Commission. The question of whether the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District should have obtained approval from the State Bond Commission is moot, since an opinion from this office will not resolve the potential legal issues identified in your request. Our office declines to issue an opinion on this matter.
Wow, that's pretty damning.
So it leaves us out in a lurch to not knowing what the Sustainability Partners contract is, other than the fact that our only recourse is if we would do a declaratory judgment again to get a court to determine whether the contract is legal or not.
Yeah, it's just it appears to be a mess to me. It's just, I don't see how anybody can understand this contract,
Well,
except for maybe the person who wrote it. And I'd be, I don't know. It's
the contract, has been presented to us in that way because it was presented in a way that it would be off the books, where you weren't incurring debt, where You didn't have to go to the bond commission.
Right,
However, the document makes us liable for paying the money back with an interest rate.
right.
And so when we asked for this opinion at the Attorney General's office, Sustainability Partners sent their lawyers to the Attorney General's office and made their case against issuing this opinion.
Wow.
And so as a result of that, this is the letter that has been forwarded to us, because obviously they don't want to open this can of worms
Yeah,
for the state, because the state has several of these projects that are in the works with Sustainability Partners providing funding, trying to get around the bond commission.
yeah. Well, I just don't believe in doing business like that. Everything should be transparent above board. And these type of contracts should be written so that everybody, even a layperson, can understand what's going on. And if you're trying to do something tricky here and tricky there, I guarantee it's always going to get people in trouble. The best thing to do is not to do it, just don't do stuff.
Any comments or questions on the item?
Excuse me, sir.
I would just ask if there's any more comments on this item.
Yeah, and then the last but not least is this crazy one with Louisiana 23 Development Company, LLC. I don't know. This is the financing. Anyway. The funding, port expenditures. They're saying that they will never have any expenditures. And then I asked them who's paying for it, and they're saying, whoever they do business with. So, so it looks to me like a memo that was dated February 14, 2022. It states Louisiana 23. It shows a budgetary of estimated cost of $50,000 and total project fee breakdown of $50,000.
That's $50 million?
50 million, I'm sorry. So, I mean, if you have a budget, somebody's paying for it. Somebody has to come up with that. So I don't know. I don't understand this contract either. This one's just as confusing as the other one.
Well, this is the item that we've been dealing with for some time now, where Sustainability Partners is forwarding the money to LA23 to expend up to $50 million
Right.
if you activate Phase 2. And the issue has been trying to get transparency on the first $8 million of deliverables.
Yeah, those costs, yep.
And we have been refused by LA23 and its contractors to see where that money is going. However, the obligation of the Port Harbor Terminal District is to repay that $8 million on a rail usage fee,
Yes.
where there is no rail that exists.
Yeah.
And so what's happened now is we are in a position to where the deliverables are supposed to be owned by the port, but we cannot see how they were paid for or who they were paid to.
Right. And that's the whole purpose of a deliverable checklist. They should have been doing that. They should have been transparent, at least with that, showing all of that. And the carrying charges of 85% for the intellectual property and the property rights fee that's developed by Louisiana 23 Development Company. And that's the $8 million, that you're talking about.
Yes.
Including a monthly fee of a carrying charge of 85%. So it's not just $8 million. It's $8 million plus a carrying charge of 85%.
Is that 85% or 0.85?
0.85. Yeah, 0.85%, right.
So when you calculate that over an annual basis, what would that be?
I don't know. I'll figure that out for you. And then was there a competitive bid process on this?
No,
No?
no, there was no competitive bid process.
The port, not the port, or maybe the port, but PPG probably should just say, I don't want to be involved in any of these contracts. It's too much of a liability for PPG. Well, that's all I have.
Any further discussion on the audit? To summarize it up, I guess the administration has agreed with your findings
Yes,
and agreed that they will improve their operations
that's correct.
because of the new in-house attorney,
That's correct.
and hopefully they will start putting the proof of insurances in the files and following the checklist that you say already exists. And so if somebody would go to a file for a specific contract,
All there.
the file would be complete,
Yes, sir.
and you wouldn't have to write up all of these findings.
Exactly.
Don't we have a file that you did last time that they said they was gonna file all this stuff before?
Well, I have a follow-up audit that says they didn't do it.
Yep. And here we are again.
So we'll have another follow-up audit on this one. But, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Really don't. A lot of this stuff is just, tricky stuff. Those two contracts are tricky contracts, non-transparent. And that's the reason they were written the way they were written, because nobody wanted to be transparent. Nobody wanted to see what's really going on, right?
That's my opinion. I agree with you.
I guess
My
I should.
opinion, too.
If I'm out of line, just tell me. But that's my opinion too. So.
No, and the fact that we've pushed for the transparency in open meetings for several months now, and the answer was that it's none of our business because it's a private transaction.
Yeah.
And then it shows up in the audit that we're responsible for payment plus the 0.85% interest monthly. It counteracts everything that's been said.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's just.
And the Attorney General's pass on this because of the potential litigation says volumes.
It does. It's very damning. Okay, so that's all I have on that.
If no containers come, we stuck paying the bill.
For sure. All right. The next item, please. Any more comments on this audit or this item? None? Move to the next item, please.
Item 3, audits in progress. A, mosquito control internal audit.
That audit, I am in process of doing that audit. Hopefully I'll have that out in September. I'm going to try to have it out before the September meeting date so that we can go over it in September. If I don't, then we'll have to go over it in October. But I'm going to do my best.
Okay. I noticed that we have the Director of Administration in the audience. Do you want to make any comments or none?
Good morning. Good to see that you're feeling better, Mr. Roussel.
Thank you.
No, I have no comments. I just wanted to be present in case you all.
Okay. Well, thank you for your appearance today. We appreciate it. And Ms. Nance, you as well as one of the public audience. So you're working on a mosquito control. Any further comments on that item? Hearing none, move to item 4.
Approval of the minutes from the April 14, 2022 meeting.
Have an offer?
Offer.
Second by Ms. Newberry. Any comments or discussion on the approval of the minutes of the April 14, 2022 Audit Committee meeting? Hearing none, machine is open. And the minutes are approved unanimously 3-0. Any further business to come before us today? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Konovich, seconded by Ms. Newberry. And the machine is open on adjournment. And the meeting is adjourned at 10:39. Thank you all for coming.